Hi, Alyson. Welcome to the Genetic Genius podcast. I am so thrilled to have you as a guest.
Thank you so much for having me. I love the title of your show. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. Before we dive deep into talking about your new book, which I cannot wait to hear about, I'd really love for you to just tell a little bit about yourself, your background, your place and impact on the planet, what inspires you, so our listeners can get to know you a little bit better.
Sure. Yeah, it's been quite a journey, but I will do my best to succinctly whittle it down somehow. I usually like to take a moment to tune in to see what parts of the story most want to be shared. So, yes, I have been very honored to get into alignment with my soul's calling this lifetime, which is practicing shamanism. I'm a shaman and an author and a spiritual teacher. And yeah, it's been a really beautiful, yet very initiatory, yet very miraculous, yet very challenging voyage. The allness, the totality of possibilities of walking this earth path have been involved in me deciding to do this work. And I definitely was not always a practicing shaman. I know that I incarnated with that calling inside of me and those wisdom truths inside of me. But there were many years where I just was not ready to allow those truths to activate. And I had a one day many years ago where I had a divine intervention, spiritual awakening moment that really changed the entire course of my life. And on that day, some of my spiritual gifts got activated, and the denial and illusion that I was really living very staunchly in all got obliterated. So it was a very angry, but also the most miraculous. And from that time, I flew to Indiana, where I'm originally from, and spent time with my grandma, and additional spiritual gifts came on board online. And I was having additional awakenings over the next week. And I decided that it was best that I finally surrender and get out of my own way and devote to my own healing process. And that is what led me to finally remembering who I really am and getting into alignment with my calling.
Wonderful. I love that about getting out of your own way. I think that's one of our hardest things as the physical form of who we are, right? As humans, to get out of our own way.
Totally. Yeah. Because there's just, unless we really devote to bravely facing ourselves, really being as consciously aware of all aspects and tendencies about ourselves, we can be our own greatest masqueraders and we can convince ourselves of things that are not true. And there's so many tricky nuances within our own being that can be the operating system, that can be the place from which we're living from. And so unless we know to really keep ourselves in check and to do the shadow work and to face our blind spots and do all of that uncomfortable work, oftentimes we can spend our entire life in a lot of that denial and illusion that I'm very familiar with.
It's like we're going through life with the blindfold on, right? And okay, are we going to take it off? Maybe just a little bit today, maybe a little bit more tomorrow, and then the whole thing. So yeah, those choices can be that road of discovery, which can be, like you said, having that moment in time where you're like ready, but also afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that deeper part of you just, once that deepest soul aspect of our being, that deepest belly knowingness inside of ourselves, once the flame gets turned on in there, wow, if we can just learn to keep trusting its nudging and keep trusting its guidance and walking forward on that spiritual path and doing all the work that we previously had been avoiding doing. It's just liberation layer after liberation layer. And that's really where we can have so much compassion and unconditional love for ourselves. And that is where we can then in turn have that same compassion and love for all others and hold a totally different space of healing for the entire planet, really, when we're not taking things personal and we're not in a reactionary place. So it's really infinite, the discoveries within ourselves and how to connect to all the support that's around if we can just find the courage to keep going.
Tap in and then have the courage. Exactly. It's like you got to plug into the right socket.
Definitely.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you're a shaman, and I would love for you to talk a little bit about that. Like, what is that for people that aren't familiar with that term? And then was there training training involved? Did you have other teachers and healers and mentors? What does that look like for you now?
It's been a very beautiful journey, and every single shaman is different. So I always like to begin my description of what shamanism is by making that very clear. We're all encoded with different medicines and ways in which the things that we are to be conduits for are to express out into the world. So when I start to describe how my shamanic path works, just for anyone that's new to this work, keep in mind the next shaman you meet, they will have probably a very different answer. So essentially, the one thing that we all have in common is that we are very adept at walking in two worlds simultaneously. We do have a foot here on earth, and I can see this microphone and I can drink this glass of water, and I'm very much here, and I'm not resisting earth life and the energies of Great Mother Earth, but I'm just as equally and sometimes even more connected to the other world of the unseen realms. That can entail infinitely anything, but I work a lot with ascended masters, of course, our world, my book. And the way that my specific shamanic path works and where the medicine name Rock-Star Shaman comes from is I work directly with Great Mother Earth, and that's the rock part of the name, and then directly up to star, which is the soul consciousness, great spirit aspect of it. And then the shaman part of the name is being in my heart and trusting my own soul and being in total unification with those two places as well. So that vertical line of into the center of source, running directly through me into my heart, and then directly down into the planet that we inhabit, that is my line of shamanism. And I have a lot of shamanic colleagues. Some of them operate very similarly to me, and we work in these very macro scales and ways. And then there are other shamanic colleagues who have taken sacred oaths, very specific earth-based lineages. So there's a particular culture that either they are from or that really called to them, and the elders or teachers of that community invited them in to learn their particular culture's sacred ways and rituals. And those are a couple of different examples. But I do also want to share that not every shaman uses the title shaman. And that's another thing that I was personally assigned and instructed to do, and another initiatory aspect of my journey, and accepting that and trusting that and knowing that. And there are other shamans who are from different cultures. They have other terms for shaman, like pahe. And then there are other shamans who might call themselves shamanic practitioners, or not any of those words at all. And they operate shamanically in a much more covert way. My way is very public, and I share a lot about shamanism through media, through writing books, and I share a lot about it to the mainstream audiences who are hearing the call to remember these ways and these truths, but perhaps don't know where to begin. So I open the door for a lot of people to start that reconnection process for themselves.
Great. I love that explanation, Alyson. Thank you. Because it's really, I think, as you mentioned, as people are starting to wake up and want to learn, it's like they hear all these different terms and they're not, what they mean when that book of knowledge for someone that's learning on the path of spiritual awakening is huge. So it's almost like you need like the dummy version, not the abbreviated book.
Some people view it as the world's most ancient healing spiritual art. And so just by knowing that, whether it is the oldest or one of the oldest, it encompasses a lot. And so through the many thousands of millions of years that shamanism has existed on this planet, it's gone through a lot of different iterations, and sometimes through, and I'm not bashing media because I'm a part of it. I have a podcast and here we are doing this, but through some forms of media like movies and things, it has really portrayed shamans in some very tight boxes and very specific ways. And shamanism is a very broad, all-encompassing ancient practice. So there's a lot to explore in there.
Yes, totally. And I do what you said about having that maybe what message that you hear from media, but then also having that filter where it's been adulterated, most likely from that truest form. Because like you said, it's been around for so long. And all of us that are here on the planet as healers, we have that different knowledge that we've brought in through different aspects. And with that comes, I don't know, the badge of like courage, I guess you could say. Okay, I'm ready to share this knowledge with the world, but you have to be able to tread the path of courage and ability and wanting to help others to learn.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility. When I was on I had spiritually outed outed myself as a shaman a long time ago. And I, for a long time, was guiding a lot shamanic journeys and experiential immersive events. But not long after that, I started being assigned this educator role. And that was one that I really honestly resisted because of some of what we're talking about. There's just so much to this, and some of it is very sensitive subject matter and territory for some people. And it's a huge responsibility and undertaking. And when they started to tell me that they were asking me to be an educator, I thought, can we double check? Can we triple check? I'm going to resist for a couple of years. Can we check back in? Is this still a part of what you want me to do?
Is this okay? Yeah.
It was a little bit like that for me. But once I saw that instruction was not going anywhere, despite my resistant attempts for it to do so, I decided, okay, I live by the calls and I answer the calls, and that's what I teach. And if I'm going to continue to be an embodied teacher who walks the talk, then I need to take this instruction on. I think with that, one other little thing that I do always like to explain, especially if there are people newer to shamanism, is that while my path operates, like I explained, directly with Great Mother Earth and Source Great Spirit, I still think, and even if that's a way that you lean into and decide to explore or practice yourself, I still think it's very important to honor and acknowledge First Nations and Indigenous peoples,
Totally.
because they were the first brave ones to answer the shamanic call. And some families for hundreds or thousands of years have very bravely carried through sacred truths and lineage practices, even if you're someone who doesn't adhere to a particular culture's ways. It's still important to pay respects to them. And I feel like there's one other little thread that's wanting to come in around that. And yeah, it's also very important if you do feel a deep resonance or a call, a pull to a certain culture. And every Indigenous shamanic elder or spiritual teacher that I've worked with has wholeheartedly invited myself and other non-Indigenous shamans into what they have to share. But what's very vital and always important to note and ask questions around, sometimes what they share, they want to be kept in sacred space and to not be passed on or not be passed on publicly. And so when I have shared space with different Indigenous teachers, I only share what they've given me permission to share. So those are some of those like entry level important, very important notes to make.
Yeah, you got to set the ground rules, and that's really key. And I love what you said too about us honoring the ancient ancestors and the Indigenous people, which is so important because they've had a lot of lifetime of hatred and abuse and killing, and we have to process that as well. But to help that, to honor that through all of the aspects that we do in the education and helping others to learn.
Yeah, yeah. And the last little button I'll put on that, even though there are all these waters to shamanism that we're talking about, it is ultimately, shamanism is the birthright of every living being to explore if they feel called. It's the birthright of every being to learn how to commune with and honor and receive blessings from Great Mother Earth, and learn how to commune with and honor teachings from the unseen realms and Great Spirit. No one should be denied or cut off from learning about the planet we live on and all of the support and the unseen realms. If you have that call inside of you, it is very important, very vital that you answer that call. But there are certain ways you need to be very mindful and have reverence for along the way.
Exactly. And okay, so if someone is thinking or feeling they're having the spiritual awakening begin, should they seek out a mentor or guide like yourself, someone to help them like answer questions? What if all of a sudden someone's, oh my gosh, they are just through this journey and they have no idea what's happening to them? What should they do?
It is a really big, important question. And of course, the answer would be different for everyone. For me, I'm really happy the way that my path operated. It wasn't easy in the way that I'm about to describe, but I'm just so glad that it worked for me. I really, out of the gate, had to learn how to trust myself and learn how to trust that with the planet and with the unseen realms. And I'm grateful that's the way it worked for me, to learn how the messages from them and to do the healing work that they guided me to do. There's nothing wrong with what I'm about to say, but I'm just personally glad that right out of the gate, I wasn't relying on another human to tell me what these bigger energetic systems were wanting to inform me on for my path. And so I operated strictly from the guidance of those places practice for many years before feeling the tug and pull into certain lineage traditions and different teachers and cultures. So it really is about tuning in and checking in with yourself. And because shamanism is all about uniting with your soul. And so the faster you can learn how to ask your own soul and heart questions and to really heed what those places are telling you, that's going to be the biggest saving grace for you on your path. So if you are having a spiritual awakening process, asking your own heart and soul in meditation or right first thing before you get out of bed in the morning, right when you wake up, asking your being, what does it most need to feel empowered and supported during this very alchemical catalytic process? And the answers will come. And don't be afraid to express to whoever it is that you believe in or talk to, whether it's universe, cosmos, God, goddess, whatever it is, speaking out loud your desire to co-create and to receive their assistance can be the most miraculous step that you take. And I call that expressing a surrender statement. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can just be a couple of sentences, but saying it out loud and letting the spiritual realms know that you're finally willing to receive their support, it will come in and it will show you the way.
Yeah. Oh, that was great. I really liked what you said about you don't have to have that person guiding you. And sometimes it can even be more of that journey when you're discovering yourself, which is all about discovering that inner healer, your path of a spiritual awakening, because you have to be able to know you're the one, you're the journey, you're the vibration on the planet. And if you're not listening to yourself, you're never going to have a change.
Absolutely. And you never want to become dependent on any helper of this world or otherworldly. It's constantly tuning in to what you're being informed to do. I remember there was a time I lived in New York City for many years, and there was a phase where I just received this knowingness that I needed to all of the tools away, all of the crystals, all of the pendulums, all of the tarot card decks, all of the little statues that I had at my altar. I needed to put it all away to get even more clearer with the ancient wisdom that was already stored inside of me. So that's just one example, but it will shift and it will take on different shapes and forms as you go along. What helpers, again, of this world or otherworldly come in to give your soul what it needs at that time. And that ascended master or that particular archangel might come in for just a chapter, or it might stay with you like deer power animal. For me, since the time I awakened, it's been with me this into all of these years. So it's a living, breathing, ever evolving organism.
I love it. And that's so true. You can have this moment where you have this feeling and this connection with a guide. And then you can have this shift where you're like, okay, now I'm ready to move to that next level. And you don't know, you have to be completely open for that transition.
Yeah. And I feel very clear in saying this, what might feel like a bold statement, but a big red flag with any spiritual teacher or shaman that you're working with is if you feel like they're continuously luring you back and telling you that you need to work with them again, more and more. Cycle seems to never end. Perhaps at some point there may be truth to that statement. There may be something that they're tuning into, or they're genuine in saying, look, I feel like if we have another session, we can really accomplish the full scope of what I think needs to be done. But if you just know this kind of never ending propensity of being lured back into more sessions, or you yourself need to take responsibility, if you feel like you just keep feeling a need to sit in a particular plant medicine ceremony over and over again, that would be a good time to take a pause and really do an integrity check and a gut check and asking, am I relying or becoming too dependent on an external source?
I love that. That's really key for that. Like we were mentioning, tuning into yourself. It's like when you have that same pattern, it's okay, am I learning from this pattern, or is it something I'm ready to shift out of into a new pattern? I'd love for us to shift and talk a little bit, one, before we dive into your book, just about the DNA, because I'm of the thought process that through our spiritual awakening, the DNA is awakened through this long lost DNA that's hiding in our body, spiritual, physical aspect. So what are your thoughts about that? And are there tools that you've come across that help people to activate that DNA within?
Yeah, I totally agree. I could really sense, like I think I shared after my awakening, when I surrendered and just gotten devotion to healing myself, I was not setting out on a quest to become a shaman. I was setting out on a quest to heal because I was not who I thought I was when I was in denial and illusion. And I very distinctly recall a time when I had been so steadfastly on the path of healing where that dormant encoding and activation of the DNA and all the wisdom and past life information stored in my chakras, all of that started to awaken and come alive. And it was through that process that the remembrance and realization of who I really am and as a shaman and what I'm supposed to do this lifetime to fulfill my earth mission that I signed up for, all of that got activated with what you're describing. So I think that that's one of the most fun parts about the journey is just leaning into and trusting what feels inspiring or what feels of interest to you right now with spiritual practices. And I used to guide clients back when I lived in New York City. I would take them into my favorite metaphysical bookshop, and it would just be a field trip of sorts of seeing, like, are you feeling more drawn to the Egyptian section or the Greek section? Or are you feeling pulled to a particular book or a particular healing tool or feather? And just seeing with where their soul is at right now, what type of activation is needed to keep all of these wisdoms and sacred truths inside coming along. So it's really just a fun exploration that you have to take the steps to initiate and get going, but it's listening. What really excites me right now, is it learning about druids? Is it learning about Celtic gods and goddesses? Is it sacred talismans from Egypt? And leaning into what is sparking up your soul the most will really keep informing.
Yeah, that's so true, especially when you listen to that passion. And like what you said, I just had this great image of being in the bookstore and going through the aisles and just having the books almost like fall off the shelves. Those are the ones that you're like resonating to. You're like, oh yeah, this is the one I need at this moment in time. And let's talk about your amazing book. Right. I love it. Animal Power. Tell us about what was the inspiration? Of course, you've talked a little bit already, amazing journey that you've had and a little bit about the animals, but what was the main inspiration, the conduit that got you like ignited within you to share this with the world?
Yeah, it's quite a story, actually. I will say the book has been the wildest, most challenging aspect of my career. And I've always been such a solid, strong writer ever since I knew a multiple time author. Yet after I had my awakening, it was very clear in my work. And I started getting approached. Again, this was while I was living in New York City. I was being approached by different publishers and literary agents, taking all these wonderful meetings. And I just not for the life of me figure what the book was supposed to be. And this went on for years. Like I think about 3.5, maybe 4 years. And that was a very, of course, I surrender and trust the process and trust in divine timing. But there were definitely times where I would see some of my closest friends move on to book number 4 or 5. I was just like, what is going on? Where's this writer's block coming from? It was very perplexing. Yet in hindsight, I have a lot more awareness. And so then fast forward to finally finding the right agents and in conversation with them, getting clear on the book, right? Oh, I'm going to write a book on surrender. Totally. It's surrender. I flew to Bali to start the book. And it was when I landed in Bali, the animals came to me and said, oh no, that's a great idea and all, but that is not the book. We want you to co-create a new modern day guidebook with us. And so I remember emailing my agent saying, you guys know I live by the calls and I really hope you're on board because I have been asked to pivot and write this totally different book. And thank God everybody was on board with the shift. And then from the new clarity of the book I was truly supposed to write, it was another almost 4 years of working on the book. And so it has been the biggest labor of divine love by far. And I love the fact that the foundational piece of this book concept literally came from the animals coming to me and asking me, because we had been working together for so many years at that point on a daily basis. The trust between us was so rich, so strong and present. I trust them to show up for me when I'm doing live power animal readings in front of thousands of people. And I'm not just going to be like searching for the animal. No, a lot of trust. And they trust me to be a voice for them and to deliver the message that they're saying teaching. So I just love that that was the initial birthing point of it. And yeah, so I communed with them pretty much every day for many years. And so Animal Power book is 100 animals to energize your life and awaken. And since you didn't see the electronic copy, this is the
So beautiful. Look at that. I love it.
It's so vibrant and
Yeah.
powerful. Yeah. So every 100 animals that's featured in this guidebook has its own really embodied, powerful
Look at the
art.
peacock. Gorgeous.
Yeah. So that was another big decision for me, is who is going to be the artist.
That's a big one. Yeah. It's a huge one.
Yeah. Because I needed someone who could really have the animals embody their teachings and their medicine attributes. So that was another big part of the process. And yeah, so along with the embodied art, it features their energy medicine messages for each animal and a power practice you can do if you feel called to deepen your connection and rapport with them. So the power practice is a ritual or a ceremony or meditation to deepen that connection. And then some of the, like octopus.
Ooh, look at that. So cool. Love it. I love the contrast of the colors. Beautiful.
Me too. And some of them have little cool, like scientific factoids at the bottom.
Oh, that's great for me.
Yeah, and I am too. I'm also a nerd. Yeah. So did you know that the oldest octopus fossil discovered dates back 300 million years?
What? That's crazy.
And these wondrous sea creatures have 8 legs, 3 hearts, and large brains that allow the animal to problem solve, complete puzzles, and move through mazes. So they're ancient and intelligent.
Wow, that's great. I love that. I didn't know that about them. Thank you for sharing.
My pleasure. Yeah. A little unique attribute of the book is I brought in 25 different trusted spiritual teachers or shamanic teachers from around the world to share a personal story about an animal that changed their life.
Wow.
So I've really woven in different traditions and locations and medicine stories about animals. So it's a very rich.
Can't wait to have it under my pillow and sleep with it and just absorb all the animal medicine in my brain.
Totally. Yeah, I start each day at my altar and I will put the book up to my heart center on my chest, and I'll close my eyes and breathe and connect with it. And I'll use it as a divination to an Animal Power book. What message do you most want me to know? And I'll keep my eyes closed and I'll just flip through until I get an awareness that I'm to open on that page. And let me tell you, my own book has had me in tears at my altar with how much it resonates. And I'm like, oh my God, the power of this book is real.
Oh, that's so great. Why do you think that we've had such a disconnection with the animal allies? It is one of the reasons why your book is so powerful for that reignition, that like reconnection, which I feel just so, I don't even know how to explain it really, just so lost, like beyond lost.
Yeah, I think it's a few things. I think what's interesting about the animal guides is that they show up for us both in the waking earth world and also in the unseen world. And so I think sometimes people forget what teachers and allies and powerful brothers and sisters they are, because you see animals a lot. And I think that some people, especially over here in the US, were just so disconnected to ancient rituals. And I don't say this from a place of judgment because I was once this person. There's so many people across the world, but especially here in the US, who have never spoken with Great Mother Earth, who have never said a prayer to her or given thanks to her or asked her if Great Mother Earth has a message for them today. And just that one example alone exhibits just how far away from true communing that we are and we should be. And so I think we take for granted the power of our animal allies. We have these creatures flying through the air, soaring in the sky, but because we see them every day, we forget their power. So it was one of the big intentions in bringing people back to this work, is to learn how to move about your day with that sacredness and reverence that seems to have been quite forgotten.
Yeah. I hope that, and I know that it will reignite that love and passion in those who are ready to work with the animals, because I feel it. And even just like the cover of your book and the pictures that you showed. And for those of you that aren't watching the YouTube video, please purchase Alyson's book so you can see and hold it yourselves and reignite with that animal medicine, which is so needed for all of us. The healing of the earth for sure. Yes. Tell us about the animal cards that go in conjunction with the book and how to use those.
Yes, it's my first time being able to talk about the card deck. So thank you for that initiation for me. Yeah, it was very clear. Animals came to me to write the book. I knew knew there was supposed to be an accompanying card deck. And so I love how the tools can really go together. So the book features 100 animals. It's very comprehensive, very in depth. And then the card deck, I just really I felt so called to keep it as simple and clean and clear as possible. So it features 75 different animals, whittled it down a bit. So for those who want to go deeper and want to have a real reference book, you can get the book. But for the card deck, it's very simple. It features what I call a power proverb on the deck or on the card that features all the different animals. So there will be a keyword phrase of that animal's medicine teachings that I call the power proverb that's on the card. And then if you want to go deeper into why that animal showed up in your card pull that morning or before you went to bed, you reference the guidebook with the card. And I have a different invocation, a prayer that you can say to let that animal know that you thank it for coming forward and that you want to work with it. And each invocation is different. And it also has a medicine message that animal wants to reveal to you. So it's a divination deck. I also didn't want to have all these rules. There's nothing wrong. I have a lot of friends who are authors of card decks, and
there are a lot of rules that go with them though.
Like layer
right. Do it this way, that way.
This way, cross, and one in the middle. And yeah. And that's great. I have those decks. But for mine, I just want people to learn how to trust their intuition. And so I just give different examples. Just speak to your deck when you get it. If you feel called to waft some sacred incense or cedar around it to cleanse it and really unite with it and connect energetically, and then close your eye and have the deck on your chest and tune in. If you have a specific question for the power animal realm, or if you just want to open yourself up to have shown to you the message that's most supposed to serve your highest, greatest good that day. Once you're clear in your intention or question for the deck, keeping your eyes closed, start to shuffle through. Oftentimes, as I'm sure you probably know, a card will,
that's the one.
Yeah, let it be known that this is your card. But if you want to pull one card or 5 cards, do what you feel intuitively guided to do. Also, if you want to keep the deck or the card at your altar and you return to it throughout the day to reconnect with that message, or if you want to carry the card with you in your purse, if you're going out for the day, just really start to hone in on how it wants to work with the deck.
I love that freedom of working with the animals. Freedom, because the animals love freedom. Yeah, that's great. Speaking from that animal truth. And okay, so since we're in 2022, step forward into the future a little bit.
Time traveling.
I'd love for you to pick maybe 3 to 5 animals that want to speak and come forward for us to guide us through 2022.
Beautiful. I think we'll start with the one that opened randomly to earlier, which is the octopus medicine.
Yeah, octopus medicine.
Yeah. And those waters, those ancient, mystic filled ocean waters that just hold within it. I really, when I start to bring in a sea creature, especially the whale, it's just such a teacher, trusting to go to those scariest depths of ourselves. But specifically with the octopus, some of its keywords are mysteriousness, healing, regeneration, uniqueness, loosening up and being more in that flow, and also infinite evolution. So I think those are all really beneficial keyword attributes that will support people in 2022. Do you feel that some of those?
Totally. Yeah, that I love that free flowingness is 100% needed this year.
Yeah. And so I'll read one message. So on the page of the information of the energy medicine messages, there are typically like anywhere from 5 to 8 messages that each animal shares. So I'll pick one just intuitively from the octopus to be spoken. And the octopus says, "My medicine evokes the mystical dance you are taking part in as an ever-evolving human on an ever-evolving planet within the ever-evolving cosmos. Tune in to this."
Wow. Oh, that's beautiful, octopus. I love it.
Thank you, octopus.
Thank you, octopus.
Good. And then perhaps we'll go to a winged creature. Let's go to stork.
Yeah, I love this. I love the stork. I love all birds, but I don't feel like I like to tune into all of them.
I do too. Stork represents renewal and a birth process. So of course, anytime we're shifting into a new year, rebirth and renewal is very important. Connecting to our inner child. How important is that work? Very important. It also, some other keywords for stork are doing soul work and roots, getting back to our roots, getting back to our soul and home life, family, nurturing, and really doing our best to stay in unity energy with our families is so important. So let's see which energy medicine message wants to come in. Let me just scan and tune in. I come bearing new, increasing, welcome these feelings of comfort, support, and abundance. You are so deserving.
Can you repeat that one, Alyson? Because you cut out for a moment. I want to make sure that we get that one really good.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to say it again. So the stork shares the message of, I come bearing news, increasing good fortune. Welcome these feelings of comfort, support, and abundance. You are so deserving.
That one resonates deep. That's really needed.
Good. And how about caterpillar for the third one?
I love the playfulness of the caterpillar, but also the birth and the butterfly and the moth.
It's one of my favorite creatures. It's been coming to me a lot lately. So some of the keyword attributes for caterpillar: infinite potential, releasing the old, development and resurrection, divine timing, and new ideas. So again, in different ways, I feel like Caterpillar Guide can be very supportive as we enter into the new year. And let's see which message it has for us. I am here to have you do an honest inner inquiry. What are you ready to let go of so you can allow your life to open to grand new possibilities?
Wow, that was super powerful. That resonates completely with 2022.
Beautiful. So yeah, those are some of our power animal allies that are really here with us for this new time, this new year. So if you want to learn more about them, get the book or the card deck and start to deepen your communication with them, call them forward. They want to be invited in, especially of all the spiritual guides. Power animals specifically really prefer and love for us to call them forward, to give them an invitation. So I highly recommend it if it speaks to you.
Oh, yeah. And how can people find the book and purchase it?
Yeah, the best way is to go to, which is AlysonCharles.com/animal power. And there when you show your receipt number for purchasing the book, you'll get emailed a free guided shamanic journey that's on video that I facilitate. Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was the best gift to give so that I can guide people into a shamanic journey to call forward the power animal that most wants to support right now. And then you can use the deck and the book to deepen that relationship.
I love it. Yay. Thank you so much. I really can't wait for people to have the book, hold it in their hands, and for them to start the journey of working with animals. So powerful. And thank you for bringing in those three today, because move into 2022 with this whole new vision and resonance and a new step forward into the future of what is going to be on our planet.
It's beautiful that the three that are organically shown, it's wind medicine with the bird, with the stork, and the water element with the octopus and the caterpillar really inches its way along the Great Mother Earth and the grounding essence. We've got a lot of support with us. And thank you so much for having me on and allowing me the opportunity to talk about my first book baby and my first card deck baby.
Birthing like the stork, like birthing a baby. Yeah. One last question as we're wrapping up today. If you have had an unlimited amount of abundance in the world, what would you do right now to make the biggest impact planetary change?
Oh boy. Okay. Something came in, but let me just tune in again, make sure that's it. 1 second. Honestly, I'm not just saying it because I'm a shaman, but I think the most important work is to remind people of methods, practices, tools, rituals that help them remember who the heck they are and they're most glorious and they're most powerful. And that's what shamanic work is. So if there was infinite amounts of abundance, I would, in varying levels, probably open up a shamanic thing that's been on my mind for a while. So I don't want to give the full.
Still brewing.
Yeah, it's still brewing, but in different degrees and in different ways, I would be investing even more than I already do, which is a lot, into allowing accessibility with sacredness and honor into these ancient teachings and ways. And I've given back in countless ways to indigenous peoples, whether it's helping them get wells in their villages because they've never had running water or whatever the case may be. But I would, with infinite abundance, definitely up the ante in terms of making sure that indigenous communities are well taken care of and that they feel in a more healing, supportive space.
Wonderful, Alyson. I love that. Ding. You told that one. You nailed it. That one is right on. Thanks again for joining us today. I can't wait to share this with the world.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.